Greetings and good day to all of you. Today the topic is chapter 3 and the name of the chapter 3 is Elementary Concepts of Classes and Objects. The contents which we will understand through these presentations are the creation of an object, the concept of user-defined data type, how it is different from fundamental data type, the use of new and dot operator, and what is the difference between object and the class. This slide introduces with the creation of an object. So whenever an object is created, it involves three stages. The number one is declaration, the number two is instantiation, the number three is initialization. Now, the declaration stage allows to declare an object before use it. So whenever we need to use any object in our programming, we need to declare it first. How we will declare? The syntax is class name space object name. So in my example, I'm declaring an object student1 of class 9th. The second stage is instantiation, which allows to allocate memory space to a declared object at runtime with the help of new operator. Now here comes the role of new operator. The new operator is used to allocate memory space to the declared object at the time of execution. And what is the syntax? I write object name equal to new and the name of the class. So again in my example, student1, as it is declared, student1 equal to new and the name of the class is class 9th, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon. The third stage is initialization. It says that it allows to initialize the object data members. Data members are the properties or characteristics of the object with default values. What are the default values? These are the values which are assigned by the Java language to the data members automatically after the instantiation process. So it allows to initialize the object data members with default values at runtime, and it automatically starts after the instantiation process. Now in my example, I am declaring an object E1 of EMP class. So I am write EMP space E1 equal to new EMP. Now EMP space E1, this stage is known as declaration of an object. Then new EMP, this stage is known as instantiation. I'm using new operator to allocate memory to my object E1 of class EMP. Now let's say this E1 object has a roll number data member. So as soon as instantiation process is over, the Java language automatically assigns this roll number with a default value. What is the default value of int data type? It is 0. So in initialization process, this roll number is assigned with a 0 value automatically after the instantiation process. Now the next slide shows the difference between class and object. The first point says that object is an instance of a class. Instance of a class means it is a result of the class. The class is blueprint from which objects are created. The second point says that it is a real world entity such as pen, laptop, mobile, bed, keyboard, etc. So any real world object which you can describe or which has characteristics and behavior is known as an object, whereas class is responsible to producing a group of similar objects. The third says that object is a physical entity and the class is a logical entity. Logical entity means the class gives you a plan for the implementation of the software. It gives you the ideas. It just tells you the layout that how the software will be implemented. Whereas object is responsible for the implementation of the software. That is why object is known as physical entity and the class is known as logical entity. The next point says that class is created through the new keyword, whereas object is declared using class keyword. The next point says that object is created many times as per requirement. Many students can enroll in the class 9th if there is a seat. But in the same way, object is created many times according to the requirement, whereas class is declared once. Object allocates memory when it is created. So every object allocates the memory space when it is created. Whereas class does not allocate memory when it is created. Why it doesn't allocate memory? Because it shows only the layout. It is a blueprint from which objects are created and object allocates memory. In this slide, we will introduce the concept of data type. The definition says that it allows to identify the type of data. The type of data means whether the data is numeric data or alphabetical data or it is in the decimal form, and dictate the method of handling it. It means that whatever the operations that can be done on the data, and which functions you will use to handle the data. Now, there are two types of data types: fundamental data type and user defined data type. The other name of fundamental data type is primitive data type, and the another name of user defined is non primitive data type. Fundamental data type, the first point says that it is an inbuilt data type which is created by the Java language, whereas user defined data type are, as the name suggests, it is created by the user and it is derived from the fundamental data type. The second point says that the size is fixed, but in user defined data type, as it is derived from the fundamental data type or it is created by the user, their size is not fixed. The third point says that these data types are available to all parts of the program within a class, but in case of user defined data type, they are not available to all parts of the program. The example of fundamental data type is int, char, long, byte, short, double, but user defined data type examples are class and string. Now, one question which are often asked in the exam, that why class is called user defined data type. If you look at the structure, see, if you look at the structure of the class, what all the data types are used: int, string is user defined data type, and long, char, all are the primitive data type. So this class is composed of primitive data type as well as user defined data type, which is string. Therefore, the class is called user defined data type because it is composed of, or it consists of, different primitive data types and the variables. What are the variables? Employee ID, name, phone number, gender of that particular data type. So that is why class is called user defined data type. Now, the next slide shows the three components of the class declarations. So, when we declare a class, it has three components. The first is access specifier. So, when we write a class in this way, how do we write? You must have learned in the last session that how do we write a class? We write public, and then we write class, and then we write name of the class with open bracket and with close bracket. Now, what is this public? This public is known as an access specifier. So what is an access specifier? It specifies the accessibility of a class, or we can say the access specifier, that whether that class can be accessible by the other class or whether the class can be called by the another classes. So there are two types of access specifier, public and default. If I'm writing public, it means the access specifier is public. But if I'm not writing anything before a class name, it means it has a default access specifier. So public is, it makes the accessibility level possible everywhere. So any classes can be accessible, or public class can be accessible everywhere. Now the second point is default. Default says that if nothing is mentioned before a class, then accessibility level is default. It means the class is accessible within a folder where it is saved, but it cannot be accessed outside the folder. The second is class name. Every class have some unique name, and the body, whatever comes in open and close bracket, that means the body of the class. In this slide, we learn the use of dot operator. So it is used to access the individual members of an object. So the members of an object can be accessed by the use of dot operator. What is the syntax? Object name dot data member. So let's say we have four objects by the name student 1, student 2, student 3 and student 4, and there is one data member of an object by the name. So how will all these four objects access that data member? By using dot operator. So I'm writing student1 dot name and it is initialized with Amit, student2 dot name, and this name of student2 object is initialized with Tarun. In the same way, student3 dot name Arun and student4 dot name is equal to Manu. Now, this is a sample program to show that how objects are created, or what is the use of the dot operator. So in this, the first statement is public class student. Now, this public is an access specifier, Unless I am declaring two data members name and roll number, and inside a main function I'm declaring two objects by the name s1 and s2. So in these two lines I am declaring two objects s1 and allocating memory to it by using new operator. In the same way, s2 is created of class student and allocating memory by using new operator. Now in these statements what I am doing, I am initializing s1 dot name is equal to Ravi. Now I'm assessing the data member of an object s1 by using dot operator. So what is the syntax? Object name dot data member is equal to Ravi, and the same way s2 dot name equal to Mamta. And after this system.out.println, this statement is used for displaying anything or whatever the message you want to display on the screen. So I'm writing s1.name. So what is the output of this statement? The output of this first statement, system.out.println. So s1.name, the output is name Ravi, and in the another way, output system.out.println s2.name, the output is Mamta. This is the output on the screen. Now after this sample program, the next is the summary points of the chapter 3. The first is that object is an instance of a class. So instance of a class means it is the result of a class. The second is the class is a blueprint from which objects are created. The third, modifiers, class name and body are the three components for the class declaration. So please don't get confused. Modifiers and the access specifier are the same thing. So modifiers or access specifier, class name and body are the three components for class declaration. The next is new keyword is used to allocate memory space for an object. Dot operator is used to access individual member of an object, and what the syntax is, object name dot data member name. Two access specifiers are public and default, and user defined data type is derived from primitive data type. The primitive data type, the other name is fundamental data type. And this is the end of the chapter 3 now. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you so much.